we cannot get enough about that big event that all eyes are on, especially when Jerome Powell speaks later in the night today. The US Central Bank is expected to make its first interest rate cut in more than 4 years. Meanwhile, the debate around the rate cuts is no longer about when, but how much. The key question remains whether Powell-led FOMC will opt for a rare and a bold 50 basis point cut to tackle the recessionary fears, or stick to the largely expected 25 basis point cut in a pursuit of a soft landing for the economy. Calls for an outsized rate cuts are growing louder, with about 60% of the Wall Street traders predicting a 50 basis point rate cut coming in by the FOMC. By end of 2024, markets are expecting a total reduction of at least 100 basis points in the first rate cut cycle in over 4 years since 2020. The biggest trigger for stock prices, however, would be Powell's motivation behind the cut and the dot plot. So you have to watch out for the commentary coming in from Jerome Powell as well. We spoke to Manish Singh to understand what's the street expectations from the FOMC meet and whether which side of the fence is he tilting on, whether it's a 50 basis point rate cut or 25 basis point rate cut. Listen in.
The reason why I think Fed is going to cut 50 and why it should cut 50 is that if the inflation is on track to be at 2%, is at 2.5% now, what justifies the rates being this restrictive? We have seen the most rapid increase in rates in the last 40 years. The rates have been at 5.25% for 14 months. What justifies it being at this high restrictive level? There's no point. So I think for that reason, you're going to get 50 basis point cut. The swing and roundabouts you're seeing in the market prediction of rate cut 25 or 50 is just down to short-term tradings in futures that you see in rates market. That should not be a determining factor in where the rate should be. What I think the market is going to look for is that 50 basis point cut comes with a narrative which says that this is the right thing to do, the rates are very restrictive, but it doesn't come with the view that we are trying to avert a recession, which is not my base case scenario.
So Manish Singh also pricing in a 50 basis point rate cut, much like the rest of the market. But moving on, then Americans meanwhile have spent more than expected at retail stores in August. Sales have ticked up 0.1% from July after jumping the most in a year and a half the previous month. Sales jumped 1.4% for online retailers and rose 0.7% at health and personal care outlets. The data, of course, indicates that consumers are still able and willing to spend despite the cumulative impact of inflation and lofty interest rates.
And shifting focus away from macros, then iPhone maker Apple is reportedly in talks with JP Chase for the bank to take over their flagship credit card program from Goldman Sachs. The discussions are still in early stages, and key elements of the deal, such as the price and whether JP could continue certain features of the Apple cards, are yet to be decided.
Alright, so from one tech giant to the other, then Microsoft and BlackRock are collaborating alongside other entities to put together a whopping $100 billion towards setting up AI infra. The GAIIP, or the Global Artificial Intelligence Infrastructure Investment Partnership, participants include GIP and MGX. The group aims to assemble $30 billion of initial capital with a future goal of bringing in up to $100 billion, including from debt financing.
Alright, and news from the tech doesn't end here. Meta Platforms has rolled out enhanced privacy and parental controls for Instagram accounts of users under the age of 18. A move aimed at addressing growing concerns around negative impact of social media. Meta will port all designated Instagram accounts automatically to teen accounts, which will be private accounts by default.
And in what is called a coordinated attack, handheld pagers exploded in parts of Lebanon, killing 8 and injuring over 2,000 people. It has impacted Hezbollah members as well as other individuals. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon, Mojtaba Amani, is said to have sustained wounds as well. Reports suggest that the impact was also felt in Syria, and Hezbollah has blamed Israel for the explosions. The incident has overwhelmed the healthcare services in the region as well.